So, sometime this year, I'll be hitting my 20th anniversary of my Warhammer life. I've been involved in the hobby for a long time, so long that I now have a child who is as old as I was when I first started playing the game, which really puts everything into some kind of strange perspective. So I thought, why not make a small video celebrating this fact, and having a little bit of nostalgia and sharing my first ever memory or string of memories in relation to Warhammer for a bit of fun. So I was 9 when I was first introduced to Warhammer. I was actually a little bit younger than that when I first got interested in the hobby, but it was actually 9 when I first walked into a shop. Now, walking into the shop was the hard part, because I used to walk past Games Workshop all the time in a place called the Metro Centre, which is a small-ish, kind of giant shopping mall in the north of England. Pretty big place. And I'd walk past it and they'd just be shouting, cheering, jeering, taunting, just general life bursting out the doors every few seconds. It was awesome. But I could never go in because, my dad knew what Warhammer was and he just flat refused to take us, It was always giving me the excuse that, I don't know, there are weird people in there. It's a bad place. General stigma that exists even today. But yeah, about a year later, I did actually manage to convince my mum to take us in when he wasn't around. And I walked in, and that place blew my mind in a way that I'm going to try and explain now. So I stepped in, and this huge bloke, massive guy, in every conceivable dimension, approached us, okay? He had a Games Workshop branded polo shirt on, he had a Games Workshop branded beard, and he had long Games Workshop branded hair. It's ridiculous, right? He was James Workshop. It was probably his name. He was amazing. Bent on my level, okay? And he asked if I wanted to play a game. And I was like, you know what? Yes. I toddled off without a second thought. I was like, Ma'am, I'm not even going to ask you. I'm going with this guy right now, and I'm going to play whatever game this is. And so I did. I played Beastmen. This dude played Empire, and it was amazing. The models were amazingly painted. The board was just there was terrain everywhere. It was a really, really good board. Really, really cool models. But the best part was how animated James was. We'll call him James. How animated James was. He was just this. He looked like a burly bloke, but he was just roaring with happiness. He was reenacting how the Minotaurs were smashing through the knights and how his cannons were going boom, blowing through all kinds of gauze, and his handguns firing off and making pew pew sounds, and swinging his arms around wildly as if he was holding a huge axe. He really sold the whole thing. He was shouting for the Emperor, or whatever the fantasy equivalent of that would be, which I think is still for the Emperor. So yeah, it was really, really cool, and it totally hooked us in a way that nothing has ever hooked us before. I was watching a fully grown man act like a small child playing with toy soldiers whilst doing a pantomime, and it was amazing. And the best part of this is that his introduction to the game morphed how I viewed Warhammer in ways that I didn't quite understand until this year. So this year, I started to play Warhammer 40,000 with my son, who is now 9. So the same age as me when I started. And when we play, I do basically what good old James Workshop did, and that was I reenact. I shout for the Emperor or scream the loudest wah imaginable whenever my orcs charge in. It's amazing. It's hilarious. I find it hilarious because I'm a cheesy nerd. He finds it hilarious because he's a child, and everyone has a good time. And it's morphed how I play the game in a way that's so strange and unique, and how I don't quite understand how it's only happened now, because it's taken 20 years for it to come out. But we're all having fun, and that's really the takeaway from this, is that even after 20 years of sometimes incredibly competitive play across countless editions going all across the country, playing. It all boils down to that fun. It all boils down to being in a room with someone that you like, in this case my son, and just having a good time. And I can see it in his face that he is having a good time. I know I'm having a good time, and hopefully the memories that we're building together will make him have a video in 20 years' time similar to this one. Not as good, because obviously mine's the original, therefore has to be the best, but on that same level. So yeah, what I want to know is, what was your first memory of Warhammer, or Games Workshop, or even just wargaming in general? Because surely I'm not the only person who's went through this and had a crazy bearded bloke shouting in their face for like 20 minutes and then think, dude, I want to play that game. Surely I'm not the only one. So drop them in the comments, let us know, and I might continue making these weird memory videos, because I've got a bunch of them and some of them are quite funny. So hopefully, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Until then, thanks for watching. See you next time.